up, YouTube land? Predator King 93 here with another deck built review. And now I'm calling them deck builds for the reason that I have built them. That's why. Because then trial decks and deck built and all that won't get mixed up. I'm now always starting to ramble at the beginning of my reviews. Right, so this is the next review that I was talking about. It's another Hero World deck, and please, if you do moan in the comments about the reflectiveness of the cards, I don't care. They keep my cards safe. I'm not spending 20 minutes unsleeving them and then another 20 minutes re-sleeving them just for a review. If you knew the setup that I have right now, you'd be amazed that I'm able to show off the cards that I am. Right, so let's get on with this review. So, the deck that I've built that I'm probably going to run in the tournament this Saturday, I'll put up a vlog about that. I have a backlog. I know I have a backlog. Right, so, first up is the buddy of my deck. Beast Deity Tiger Thrust. Now, don't laugh at the name. He's a pretty decent card. He's size 1, 4,000 attack, 1,000 defense, critical of 2, and he has a neat ability. Put the card from your hand or field into the soul of a card that you're riding on. If this card is in the soul of a card that you're riding on, that card gains penetrate. Yes, this guy will allow me, if I am riding said cards in deck, it will allow me to have penetrate on myself. Sounds so dirty. Next up is my size 1 movement monster, Cyber Police Hero Blader. 3,000 attack, 2,000 defense, critical of 2, size 1. And yes, as I said, he has the move ability. Next up is another version of that. And of course, another Tiger Thrust, because I have 4 of him and 1 buddy. Next up is another cool card for the deck. Radio Controlled Machine Boldum Breaker. Size 1 monster, 5,000 attack, 3,000 defense, critical of 1. And has a neat ability. When this card attacks and destroys your opponent's monster, put the top card of the deck into the gauge. And of course, I have 2 of them. Next up is another 2 Tiger Thrusts. So there's the 4 that run and 1 in the deck. That is my buddy. Next up is Beast Deity Sabard or Sabard. Is that a dig at Saban? Who knows? Size 0 monster, 3,000 attack, 1 critical, and 1,000 defense. Now you're probably wondering why I've run a weak monster like this. Well, it's for his ability. He has roughly the same ability as Tiger Thrust, except if you have 6 or less life, and this card is in a soul of a card you are riding on, pay 1 gauge, and for this turn, that card gains double attack. So, can anybody see what's going on here? I only have 1 of him in my deck, which is a bit sad, but oh well. Next up is another size 0 monster, Beast Deity Slashark. 1,000 attack, 3,000 defense, a critical of 1, and you guessed it, he has ability that's the same as Tiger Thrust, except this card, when it goes into the soul of a card that you're riding on, it gains 1,000 attack and defense. So I run 2 of him in my deck. So far I have 2,000 attack, a double attack card, and a penetrate card. And that's all just for my card that I ride on. Right, so who's the most probably card that it's going to ride on? Can anyone guess? You have 3 seconds to guess. 1, 2, 3. If you guessed Ultimate Card Burn, you were right. Yes, I run a Ultimate Card Burn that I got in my Neo Enforcers box, which you'll see once I've edited the video. It has 12,000 attack, 8,000 defense, critical of 3, size 3 monster, but this card cannot be summoned unless by the ability of Card Burn. This card cannot enter the hang on, I can't see this. I had to take it off camera. This card cannot this card on the field cannot be destroyed or returned to the hand. So when I call this, it's a game over card for most worlds now. It has a double attack. So if I'm riding that, I have double attack, either way, penetrate, and 2,000 attack and defense. So effectively 14,000 attack and 10,000 defense. Although, here's two cards that I got from the sneak peek that is pretty cool, which is Grand Caliber Full Guns. 5,000 attack, 4,000 defense, critical of 2, size 2 monster, and it has a counter ability. Act Grand Wall. You may discard a Brave Machines from your hand. If you do, the next damage that would be dealt to you this turn is reduced by 2. And pay 1 gauge to ride the card. So I could effectively have these and this. If you haven't noticed so far, my deck's pretty OP on certain things. Next up is the card that I normally transform into, because it always ends up in my hand, and I'm thinking about making it into my buddy at some point. Grand Caliber Z-Line, or Zealed Line. Size 3 monster, 6,000 attack and defense, critical of 3. And the only thing he has is a pay 2 gauge for the ride. So this card can be called to the field without paying a gauge. That thing is a beast. Next up is Cyber Police Lightning Chaser. When you 4,000 attack, 1,000 defense, critical of 2, and he's a size 1 as I said before. When an attack by this card destroys a monster on your opponent's field, put the top card of your deck into your gauge. Yes, he is a gauge builder, just like this card that I said before. Baldum. Next up, if you hadn't guessed already, thanks to Ultimate Cardburn, I have Card Rhino in my deck. I am looking for, my friend has another one, so my chances of playing Card Rhino have increased. He's a size 2 monster with a critical of 2, 4,000 attack, 6,000 defense, and he's got a pretty nice act ability. Sorry, I have to keep turning over for some reason, and I will explain at the end of the thing, or in a vlog one day. Act Rhino Crush, pay 1 gauge. If you do, for this turn, this card gains 2,000 power and penetrate. That's a bit overpowered for, a Rhino. Next up is a card that I run 3 of, because it's well balanced now. Cardburn. Now, if you don't know Cardburn's ability by now, it summons Ultimate Cardburn, but pay 4 gauge. You may put Card Serpent and Card Rhino and this card from the field into your drop zone. If you do, ride Ultimate Cardburn from your hand or deck. If you search your deck, shuffle it. Pay 2 gauge to ride. He has 4,000 attack, 3,000 defense, critical of 1, and he's size 1. Now, if you haven't guessed, I have to ride him to call him and Card Serpent so I can get him. Now, that's the last buddy, Tiger Thrust. Now, for this deck, I don't know if I'm going to run Tiger Thrust or Card Serpent as my buddy. And I run 4 of Card Serpent. He has no ability, no gauging or out like that, no call cost. He's just a size 1 monster with 5,000 attack, 2,000 defense, critical of 2. And that's pretty much it for my monsters. Now we move on to my spells. Let me just clean up this so you can all see my spells in that. Ugh, I have just ate some of my stomachs burping for me. The energy that I put into these reviews for you as well is quite exhausting now. And if I can get my hand through my tripod. There we go. Alright, so next up are my spells. Now I run quite a few spells just due to, said situations. If I really told you my format, right, so I'm gonna just sort of, whilst I'm talking to you here, sort the cards out so I'm not going over X amount of cards and buying up more time on my memory card. Oh my god, I have so many cards. Alrighty. So there's my impacts. And the final ones are my set spells, right? So, For my spells, oh my god, I use about 3 set spells. Now it depends on what I get first. I get this, which is prepared and okay to launch. Set spell. When you ride, draw 2 cards. Put this card into the drop zone. For this turn, you cannot set prepare okay to be launched. Basically, it means I can't set another one after this. So it's pretty okay to gain 2 cards if you're running low. Now the other one that I run 2 of is, well, I will be running 3 of when I get rid of that, is Super Headquarters Brave Fort. Now if you look on the artwork, you can see Card Burn, Card Rhino, and Card Serpent at their fortress. Now this one reads like this. Set spell. When your brave machines enter the field or ride, put the top card of your deck into the gauge. This ability can only be activated once per turn. If your life would become 0, destroy a card you are riding on. If you do, that your life becomes 1. And destroy this card. You may only set this once per turn. Next up are 2 of the nullifiers I've seen through your moves. As you can guess, I've only got 4 of each nullifiers and gauges of certain things. Next up is, another gauger, which I've shown before, Launch Buddy Police, which, puts the top card of your deck into your gauge and gives you 1 life. Now, the last review, my Rescue Dragons, I told you there was another card that I used to gauge in this deck. Here it is, Hyper Energy. I don't know if that sounded racist, but it wasn't meant to. Put the top 4 cards of your deck into your gauge, and you may only cast this once per turn. So that's why I use it, and that would be an instant 8 cards if I used it for 2 turns. Next up is I'll leave the rest to you. The reason why I break is because I broke there, because there's a break in the title, which reads like this. You may only cast this if you're riding on a card. Pay 1 life and put the card you're riding on from your field into your drop zone. If you do, counter with this. Destroy a card on your opponent's field. That's 3 of them in my deck. Now, the whole reason why I do that is because I run a kind of half my deck is, able to ride. So if I come across like certain cards that I can't destroy normally, I'll use that as a last resort. Like this. Fire all cannons. Pay 2 gauge. Destroy. Oh, I forgot to show it on here. Destroy all monsters on your opponent's field with 3,000 power or 3,000 less defense. So it gives you an option on attack or defense. So if somebody was to go, ha ha ha, I have a 6,000 defense monster, like Bronze Shield, Thunder Knight's Brass Shield Dragon, your attack's lower than 4,000, mate. Yeah. My card says I can choose your power level. No! I've actually done that before. Next up is Momentary Flash. Pay 1 gauge. You may only cast this card if you have 6 life or less and you're running on a card. Destroy a card on your opponent's field. Yes, that is really good, especially if you're destroying, say, a set spell or an item. It really does come in handy. Right, next up is a card that I want to run 4 of because it's epic. Is Body of Steel. It is the new counter card for the Brave Machines. Like, Justice Will Prevail for the Hero deck and Dark Hero deck. You can actually Dark Heroes don't have one yet. You can use this to boost your Brave Machines in battle by 5,000 defense, and they get a counter attack. And I just love that, especially if you're equipped with a Battle Brave Machine card and you use that. Yes, Justice Will Prevail and Body of Steel will work if a Brave Machine or superhero is attached to you, because you become a Brave Machine or you become a superhero. That's how they did it in the anime, that's how we're doing it in tournaments, and that's how we're doing it in BuddyFight. Next up is another card that I showed in the last review. It's About Time I Got Serious. Pay 1 gauge when you have 6 life or less, and draw 2 cards. It comes in handy. Last spell card for the day is... This is the one that I was trying to remember for the hero world. For the sake of fighting for the sake of others. Wow, this deck really makes you feel heroic. You may only cast it if you have 5 life or less. Discard your entire hand, draw 3 cards. You may only cast this once per turn. That's the card that I was trying to remember the name of last time. Now, we're up to the impacts. Now, I'll do the one impact that I've got. Well, I've got 3, but I'll do the one that isn't, the other ones. It's Impact, Double Sword Slash, which is Ultimate Card Burns one. If you saw my Neo Enforcer review, I got a really decent amount of Neo Enforcer stuff, and I'm really happy about it. You may only cast this if you are riding on Ultimate Card Burn, and neither of you, nor you or your opponent has a monster in the center. Pay 4 gauge and deal 5 damage to your opponent. Oh, I've just whacked my tripod. But yeah, it's like with Ultimate Card Burn being 3 attack and having 3 critical and having double attack, that's 11 damage to your opponent. Even if they reduce it by 2, say with Grand Wall, that's 8 damage to your opponent, and your size 0 monsters could finish them off on the next turn. Next up is the card that I've got 2 of, like I was trying to say before, which is Brave Energy Full Drive. You may only cast this if you're riding on a card and your opponent has 5 life or less. Call cost, pay 2 gauge. Now, this is the reason why you've seen us have so many Tiger Thrusts and Slash Sharks and Sabads and all that. Deal 2 damage to your opponent, then deal damage to your opponent equal to the number of cards in the soul of a card you are riding on. The damage dealt by this card cannot be reduced. It is Gargantua Punisher for Brave Machines. And that's pretty much it for my Brave review. Like I always say, I name my decks when I've finished them. I'm close to finishing this. Like I say, I need another card Rhino. I don't know if I want to run 3 card Rhinos or just 2. And well, I'll run 3 card burns, 3 card Rhinos, and I'm thinking about running just 3 card Serpents. Because one's a proxy until I can get... Well, it's not a proxy, it's just a placement holder until I can get my card Rhino. But yeah, I really like the Grand Zelban. I really like him. And I think I might eventually make him my buddy. But with all this Brave deck is probably going to be the one deck that I'm going to use in the tournament. I would love to use my superhero deck, but what can I do? I've got to get going. So I'll catch you guys on the flip side.